Good evening, everyone. Well, especially to you, Lauren. So happy to have you. I'm representing Periplus as I think their best friend. I don't work for them. I wish I did, but I guess I'm here as a best friend and interviewing you and would love to get to know you better as a writer, as a person, and especially since your new book is coming out this month, Lucie is not a romantic. We'd like to get to know more about it. So, firstly, since you're in Singapore, right?
Yes.
Okay, and how is that going? How is the pandemic situation? Can we visit you?
Yes, so I mean I told myself we would not talk about the pandemic. But here we are. It's tradition. Let's roll with it. So Singapore has opened its borders maybe maybe a month ago ish. Yeah. And so travel is pretty much back to pre-pandemic levels. There's some social restrictions left, but events are back on. So I'm really happy about that. I feel quite hopeful that this time around, you know, okay, I'm not even going to say anything. Yes, I'm just hopeful that I get events.
Okay, so can we expect like a book signing or?
Yes, so I do have some events planned in the UK. Because for whatever reason, I will be back in Europe for about a month when my book launches. So I decided like I would make myself available for a UK stopover and sign some books, meet some people, talk to some other authors. The last part I'm really excited about. So yeah, I will be in the UK.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Okay, so I actually was following your Instagram
Mm-hmm.
and I just had to confess that. And apparently, just like your main character in Last Night Standing, you started from law and then you decided to be a writer.
Mm-hmm.
How was that transition? What made you want to pursue this instead of staying in law and order?
No one wants to stay in law. I'm kidding. I mean, I follow the great tradition of many secret writers who became lawyers because their mother told them to. I'm just kidding. I think it's separate. Like I've always wanted to be an author, but I also greatly enjoyed the legal practice. And basically there wasn't so much of a transition from law to being an author because I have always been writing. I don't think that you should call yourself a writer only after you've been published. I've been writing short stories and publishing and entering competitions since I was in high school. So I guess I've always been a writer and I just happened to finish a novel. And that's the biggest distinction for me. So, but to answer your question, there wasn't really so much a transition from law. I'm still kind of in a day job where I do advise on legal matters, but it's in the humanitarian sector. And I write at night.
That sounds so much like Andrea.
And I think it's reverse, as in like she is a lawyer full time and she drinks a lot outside of her job.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But I mean, so when I was, because I was following your Instagram and I saw
Mhm.
your post of when you said you left the job and you pursued your dream to become an author. And when I was listening to the audiobook, I kept thinking, oh, lots of similarities.
Well,
So
I think like you draw inspiration from your own life when you write the first novel. I mean, that seems to be pretty much the case that the first novel is pretty much can be autobiographical. But in this case, I just want to assure everyone, especially my mother, who will probably be recording this if she sees this online, that this book is 100% not based on you, mom.
okay.
Yes.
I have to say though, even if that were the case, I loved Andrea's mom. I actually really like her character. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just really honest and even
Bit
for
too
those,
honest.
Yeah, even for, I mean, for those who haven't read it, I really like the part when the mom called and it was unknown caller, and then Andrea knew it was the mom, and she answered with hello, and the mom said, "I don't want your hello. I want grandchildren."
Yes.
And I thought it was the funniest thing.
That was something my mother never said as well.
Another question for you would be, did you write this book for Asian readers?
Mm,
Women.
that's a really good question because I think there are a lot of books featuring Asian characters now, Asian leads, which is great to see in contemporary fiction and all kinds of genres, right? But I do think that when my book first came out anyway, everyone was really focused on comparing it with Crazy Rich Asians, with which it shares maybe superficial similarities, but to be honest, it's pretty much if it's to be compared with any book, I think it's actually closer to Bridget Jones's Diary.
And what was exactly your what was your inspiration? Like, what made you want to tell this story?
Okay. So I used to be an amateur stand-up comic in Singapore. So I know your face is like, but me too. Trust me. Sometimes when I was on stage, I was like, what am I doing? But I was doing this for 2 years because I really enjoyed the scene. And when I was on stage, I just gathered so much material for my book. And, I just started seeing this character who's like, a 30 plus woman based in Singapore, who's a lawyer who drinks too much because she's unhappy with life in a way. And I just thought there's just so many good jokes here. And I mean, I used to be in the legal profession. I have so many lawyer jokes. Let's make this into a novel and have fun with it. And that's basically how Last Tank Standing came into being.
Okay. I
Yeah.
would really like to watch just like one act or
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know about that. Well, I haven't
Okay.
really been on stage for quite some time, so I'm very rusty. I was on maybe a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I'm not sure people left the theater feeling like their money was well spent, even though there were a lot of very good acts beside me. But okay, enough of the self-deprecation like this. Yeah,
Animation is great, and you're still doing it. You're actually still doing it. So that's
I don't know why I do this to myself, but yes, I guess I like the thrill of knowing if people would boo at me or heckle or yeah, or laugh, because when you get a laugh, it's just amazing. It's just like, yeah, I can't describe it.
so. And when you wrote Andrea,
Mm-hmm.
well, do you in your in I mean, when you were writing her, did you actually kind of try to write her as kind of a representative of like a lot of other Asian women out there, or just women?
No, I just thought of her very organically as this character, that's her own person. I think the problem with being an Asian author from this part of the world is that we have such a lack of representation of characters from this part of the world on the world stage, in the media that we consume, that a lot of people tend to place a lot of burden on my book to represent everybody or all. They're really happy that there's a book from here, but a lot of people kind of place too high a burden of representation on my book. And this character is a flawed character. She's complicated. She's like every woman, but I never set out to write her to sort of like be the perfect representation or to represent one specific type of women, or to tell any like a specific tale, except that she's a woman, she's trying to find herself, and she's trying to grow, and maybe she has a little bit of romance in her life at the same time. It's not a story that's meant to be like challenging social norms or anything. It's just a really fun book. And at the same time, we look at some harder themes, because we talk about, is it okay to be casually racist when some older generations, they tend to do that in this part of the world. We all know that, casually fat phobic. So the when I come at a subject, I try not to come at it full on. I just do it tangentially using humor, because that's the point of fiction, right? You use, if you can use humor to ask the difficult questions and kind of shine a light on it, and ask yourself, like, why do I find this funny, or why do I find this offensive? Then hopefully it will spark deeper conversations, and you question some of your assumptions and etc. Yeah, there was a really long rant, but
No,
yes.
but yeah, I mean, that's actually I because I did notice like a lot of the comments that Andrea made or like the other characters, and I mean I do laugh. I definitely laugh because I think Andrea is really funny, and her mom is funny. But yeah, okay, so that actually clears up a lot. I think I had some questions in my head as I was
Mhm,
reading the book.
mhm,
And another question from me personally,
mhm.
because did you actually always want to write a romance, like a romantic story?
Mm,
I think it's categorized as romance, but for me
right.
personally, it's more of a coming of age.
It is, yeah. So, a true story, when I first pitched Last Tank Standing, the romantic part of it was not really well fleshed out. And of course, I think because it has such a great romantic subplot, that I think my editor at that time really encouraged me to explore that a little more. And so it became a bit more fleshed out in the final product. But I think you're absolutely right. When I wrote it, I meant for it to highlight more a woman's journey as she tries to juggle all these expectations placed on her by society, by her culture, by herself even. And she's a modern woman, but she's also in a very traditional, very conservative, to some extent, country. You know, she's a product of that. And there are all these questions, and she might have as she navigates all these opposing questions, forces. Okay, I've not had a lot of sleep the past 2 nights. I have 2 kids. Yes. So if I lose my train of thought, it's not because of anything else other than lack of sleep.
Yeah, because I think some people are like, oh, team Suresh or team Eric, or
Mm-hmm.
I even thought about the ex-boyfriend at some point, or even the younger guy. But I think the whole time I was just like team Andrea. I just
Team.
really wanted to see her character grow. And so I was really happy with it. And so when I couldn't even tell my friends if this was a romantic novel because I was like, I don't think it's that romantic. I think it's more of
It's not.
your, yeah, it's more of the growth. And I really enjoyed it. Oh, and speaking of which, since this was book one, I'm so
Mhm.
happy that you got a second book coming out.
Yes, I'm very excited about the second book, which comes out in 3 weeks. It's called Lucy is Not a Romantic, and I have an advance copy here.
Oh, I can't
So,
wait to get mine. I can't
um,
wait to get my copy. But
thank you.
okay,
Um,
so will Andrea Tang be back in this book? Is she gonna be Lucy's friend or
oh no, so this is a standalone book. It's not a sequel. It's not set in the same universe. I mean, it's set in Singapore, but it's, there's no, like, it's not like Marvel universe. Yeah. So will Andrew come back? I can never say no. I had worked on the sequel a little bit, but I got sidetracked by other writing projects. I have a YA novel coming out in 2024. You heard it here first. I can't reveal the publisher because we have not signed the agreement yet, but it's going to be fun. And yeah,
I'm just writing things down, but yeah, it's like
and
okay.
it will feature a part Indonesian character as a love interest. So I'm very excited about that.
I
So
was even screaming when you introduced Eric, and I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, Eric is actually inspired by someone I know, but I'm not allowed to say who.
Okay, but a lot of the characters were they inspired by people you know?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
100%. But also because I do not, for legal purposes, everything is fiction, so fictionalized. So yeah. But yes, they're of course inspired by people I know.
Oh, I wish I knew them, but okay.
Mm, not some of them, maybe not. But yeah, okay.
I actually really like the I read the synopsis for Lucy E and I'm so excited because I think it's gonna be really funny.
Hmm.
She just wants to have this family, but she's not a romantic. And so she just goes, well, whichever guy who looks healthy and probably good looking, and let's have a baby together, kind of thing.
Well, that's a very good summary. No, I mean the book is more than that. It's actually exploration about found families, about parenthood, and you know, yeah, all kinds of themes that I try to wrap up in humor and just package in the book. Darker themes as well. I mean, it's packaged. It's sold as a rom-com, but there are some maybe less calm um, um, issues that I examine, like infertility. There's mention of infertility, but anyway, the point is, yeah, it has darker subjects that I deal with. So it's a rom-com, but is it really? I think that's me and how I write. Basically, it's because I love comedy and I think I write funny. But I also want to examine subjects that are dear to me, and they might not exactly be light-hearted subject matters, but yeah. So that's my DNA as a writer. I use humor to approach deeper subjects.
Especially since you're a mother, it's probably gonna be really fun to read. I mean, all the parenting
Mhm.
stuff.
I
I
have a lot of mom jokes in there.
I cannot wait. And so, since Last Night Standing was written as a diary,
Mm-hmm.
is one going to be similar or is it a different?
Oh, this one is absolutely not written in diary form. It's completely like traditional long narrative. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm so looking forward. I'm actually really excited about this one. I saw the
Okay.
cover and I was like, okay. And the title. I'm not a romantic person, so I'm already in.
Me neither. But what is being romantic actually? Okay, I don't want to get sidetracked, but yes, it's not about hearts and flowers and yeah, songs and stuff that you see or love actually. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think romantic, a person who's romantic, to me anyway, is someone who's just there for you, who's there to support you through life's ups and downs, That's actually being romantic to a person. But anyway, sidetracked.
That explains the flow of Last Time Standing. That
Okay.
really explains it. Okay, so from Periplus, they have some questions, which
Mhm.
I guess is really important, and that is, which books inspired you, or maybe your favorite books when you were growing up, or your favorite writers.
So, I read across all genres. I don't have like a specific book that inspired me, I guess. But I must say that like one of the first books that I read that really made a mark on me is The God of Small Things. And I know it's like a really important book for a lot of authors as well, but it really is that good a book. It's The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. And yeah, I can talk about recent releases, but I mean, I'm just trying to like read through the fog of my memories and try to find one particular title that really inspired me. But I think that would be the one, really.
Any authors that inspired you, maybe?
Recently, maybe I can talk about recent releases.
Yeah, sure.
Um, I recently read Meg Mason's Sorrow and Bliss, and I really loved it. I mean, it's a new release. I'm just going to let you check it out. I also really liked Emily Itami's Fault Lines. That's also another book. I tend to read a lot of books by women, I think. And I tend to gravitate towards books that feature um, people from this part of the world, or at least the Asian diaspora in other countries, because that's just my taste. Um, and what else can I recommend recently? I'm trying to think. I also recently finished TJ Klune's, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name right. It, I think it's his. TJ Klune's, The House on the on the Cerulean Sea or something. I need to check that out.
Oh yeah,
That's a really good book. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's a guy. Or at least that's one guy out of like the list of women.
Oh,
But
well, two, one out of three,
support each
actually.
other.
Pardon?
Women support each other. So
Well, I mean, I think it's good to read widely and just like not restrict yourself to any particular gender or genre. Yeah.
well, I mean, I have to be honest. If you actually wrote a blog about your favorite books and the writers, I think I would definitely read it.
Oh,
Not like
I am producing a listicle for the Nerd Daily, and it will feature like my chaotic like list of beach reads for 2022, and I think you would enjoy it. So keep an eye out. It's a massive list, and it's going to be funny. I mean, the list is funny.
okay. Another question would be, what made you want to write Lucie?
Okay. Um, that's a good question because I haven't really, I mean, this is the first time I'm talking about a book with an interviewer, so I've not had a time to sort of like think about it yet. As a writer in general, when I write, I'm not really thinking about plots. Like I just see a character come into my head and I know what she wants and or what he wants, and I just follow the story. So I didn't necessarily sit down and think to myself, I'm going to write this character who wants a child, but she's not with anyone, and she just thinks that she's okay to do it in using a non-traditional way, i.e., through an elective co-parenting platform with someone she doesn't really know. But I also wanted to like ask questions like, why is it we think that someone who's meeting someone traditionally in a romantic relationship over the years would know someone better than someone you meet through a co-parenting platform, because there's a more extensive vetting process involved in the matching. So, and you ask yourself a lot of very difficult questions because I did the research. I spoke to the founders of these co-parenting platforms, and you're supposed to ask a lot of very difficult questions when you before you match and you meet up and you do this, including things like, if one of us dies, what happens to the child, like who would take over the finances and things like that. And I don't think a lot of people in traditional relationships actually think, I'm going to ask this question. Even sometimes after marriage, they don't even discuss this. They don't discuss finances or like what religion you would raise your child in, if any, things like that. So I think I answered your question. I don't know.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, and I have like this inkling just because I mean, if you get to like ask a lot of questions, that means you get to know that person a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And that means Lucie and Collin.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Have actually gone through a process that is not unlike actual dating. And then we have all these questions. Why do you need romance in a relationship to have a child? Okay, but yes, I won't give away too much of my book.
Yeah. I think that's dangerous. I'm avoiding spoiler myself
Yeah.
because I want to just dive in and be like, all right, Lucie and Collin and baby.
Yeah.
But okay. So and how long did it take for you to actually do the research and write this book?
Maybe about 2 months of like research slash drafting at the same time. As I said, I spoke to some of these people who set up co-parenting platforms or were involved. I spoke to quite a few OBGYNs as well. That's basically to make sure that I got the whole situation right, like what happens in a case of infertility, who has access to fertility treatments. And so there's like a lot of things that I had to research before I actually wrote the book. So
Yeah, even well, I guess because Last Night Standing is not the is before pandemic.
mhm.
Yeah. But the pandemic caught you by surprise, I guess.
Yes, it did. I mean, it caught everyone by surprise, but it was really tough for everyone who debuted in the first half of 2020. I guess after March, it was just such a tough time to be a debut. And yeah, it was actually thinking about it, it was a little bit traumatic for people who have been like waiting for their books to come out and then having to deal with the fact that some of them, I mean, some of my friends never even had books in the bookstore during the time when they were supposed to have their books on the shelves, you know, because a lot of people don't know this, but books don't stay on shelves in the US in bookstores for more than 3 months to 6 months, depending on the book, right? So some of them never even got to see their books on like the shelves of an actual bookstore. So it was really heartbreaking for them. I felt so bad. But yeah, it was just such a strange year to be a debut, and I'm just glad I got a second chance because some of my fellow authors never got a second chance because they had a one book deal and maybe the book didn't do very well. And we just lost like a year of authors, I think. Like, and I feel very sad about that. Even not just about authors, right? Like just people in the creative sector that, you know, like whether they're buskers, they're musicians, stand-up comics. Maybe some of them were like on the cusp of doing something great and that was just taken away from them. So I feel bad for them as well. So but yeah, new year, new book. Hopefully this one debuts to a better time. It would be great if more authors from this part of the world get supported, get their books out there. But I think um, I think like having readers buy books and having bookstores like Periplus like push these books out there as well is really a huge help. And I'm really grateful for the support from Periplus and all these wonderful bookstores from this part of the world who have really supported Last Time Standing, and I'm really appreciative of it because if we don't support our own authors, like who's going to give our authors a chance to write for a world audience, right? So thanks a lot, Periplus. I did not rehearse this at all.
What is your advice for aspiring writers?
Okay, this is if you want to be published, there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to it. You just have to first produce a full manuscript and make sure it's like the best it can be. So get it like read by other people and edit it, proofread it, check it. And after that, you just gotta steel yourself for the submission process because you gotta first get an agent. And then you gotta, if you get an agent in the first place, you gotta sell the book. And it's a really mentally taxing journey. And there is, I admit, an element of luck to it. But the most important thing the most important thing is to first finish your book. And then after that, it's out of your hands, really. And don't try to follow a trend when you're writing a book. You can never catch the trend because as I mentioned, it takes like 18 months to sometimes 2 years to produce a book, right? From acquisition to publication. So by the time the book comes out and it becomes like a thing, it's already like been 2 years since it was written. And so, you know, trends evolve. So the other tip I would give to authors to be out there is to never try to write to catch a trend. Just make whatever you have the best it can be and put it out there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of Periplus, I'd like to thank you for joining in and like answering all of the questions. I know some of them are tough and a little bit weird.
No, not at all. Um, I apologize for the editing team that will have to edit out a lot of bloopers, but I was really good, I think, because I did not swear at all. and I think I can be proud of that. Yes. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting me. My next book, Lucie is Not a Romantic, is dropping June 21st. And I would be really appreciative if you could support your local indie bookstores, Periplus, by ordering from them. Thank you so much. Terima kasih.